when you lost those clients, you mentioned you're in that valley of despair. What gave you the ability to get through that moment? You mentioned Brett was part of that. How did you get to that next point?
Yeah. My wife and children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Three beautiful daughters, uh, wife of 10 years, next month. And I've been through so much in my life, like trials as a child with adoption and drug addiction when I was a teen and sports. I played high school and college athletics. And I wasn't a stranger to hard times. Uh, and when that hit, my wife actually looked at me during that time and she said, "Why are you still doing this?" Like, is it, I looked at her and I said, "I just can't quit again."
Yeah.
I said, I distinctly remember me saying, I just can't quit again. And that I just don't quit, man. Like our last one is just win. That's our last core value. No matter what, just win. And that was spawned from that time period of like, man, we got half clients left. We're down to like a skeleton crew of people here. We're trying to figure out everything. Everybody's counting us out. Bigger names in the space are launching ghostwriting agencies. We have every reason to give up. Well, what if we don't?
Yeah.
What if we just win? And that's my children, my family, my wife really care. And I worked hours, man. That was a long, that year I was putting in 16, 18-hour days in between bath time and dinners and school drop offs. If I wasn't doing that, I was in it. And I think that's what creates great stories. I mean, all businesses. I think it was the guy that made Dyson. Dyson vacuums. Has a book, and he has a quote in his book that says, "There's never been a business that said I had a great idea, everything worked out, the end."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that quote.
Yeah. Well, it all gets washed away in the story at the end, and that's what you hate is because you get this idea that it's just this smooth thing, and I think too, it's easy with people that you even know to wash over what is happening and be like, "Oh man, we're gonna get through it," because you have that to be an entrepreneur, you've gotta have like that eternal optimism, right? You had and we're not getting we haven't gotten deep into your story, but you had no reason to be eternally optimistic with where you came from, what you've dealt with, but you literally just pulled yourself up. What gave you that, like, eternal optimism to say, "No, we're gonna figure this out"? Was it a just, "Dude, I can't let my children and kids down," and that was that negative energy, like, that negative force, or was there, like, something where it's like, you just always knew you were gonna be successful?
Yeah, I think hopeful optimism as in founder, we talk a lot about delusional optimism. I think there's a certain element of delusionment to think that you can create things out of thin air and something happen. Faith's a huge part of
Yeah.
what I do. I mean, I do nothing without the Lord. Like I can't. Like none of this is mine. Like it's all gonna fade. Like the money's gonna fade. All this stuff. I live to glorify God in the things that I do on a daily basis, and that was a huge part in just knowing that. Like I think a lot of people in their faith journey think that everything has to work out, and you truly study the Bible and like the things that people go through, you realize that every story is trial and tribulation and heartache after heartache, all ending in the glorification of God. Um, and so, like I tell people all the time, like when we're in bad situations, one of the things I like to say is, "Man, we're going to get to tell this story one day."
Yeah. Yeah.
I say that a lot. I'm like, "Man, this is going to be one heck of a story one day, isn't it?" And people laugh, and you know me long enough to know I'm like, you drop me in a desert, and I'm gonna be like, man, this we're gonna be able to tell this to the boys when we get back, you
Yeah.
know. But I think that's it. I think it's the understanding that it's all part, and I think content plays a big part of that. Like being like writing as much as I've written over the last 5 years. Like I love writing, and like my life is just a series of posts, like a series of content. And I understand that like there's ups and downs in content and there's this and that. And I think that's the hope that when my children grow up, when people look at my life, when I talk to my close friends that I consider just true brothers, that I live as a testimony for them to say, I have a buddy named Evan Horner. We played Pee Wee football together, grew up. He was valedictorian of our class in high school. He went on to ROTC. He was going to be a dermatologist, ended up going through ROTC, joining the military, very high up. He'll be a general one day in the Army. He called me months ago now. We usually catch up once a quarter. And he said he was talking to an old lieutenant. And he was telling him about my story. And he said, I had a buddy that had every reason to not work out. That his family was hard and he went through these things and he is killing it right now in his life. And to think that he thought enough of me to tell that story to some random person as inspiration is enough for me. And I know that everything that I do and everything that I am, I want people when they meet with me, I want it to be the best part. I tell my kids that when somebody talks to a Sellers, it should make them smile. The best part of their day should be interactions with my family, and it's important. And so that's something I think about quite a